I'm Robin Melley. I'm a chartered financial planner. I'm the founder of Matrix Capital, which is a firm of chartered financial planners in Shropshire. What sets us apart from other firms of financial planners and financial advisors is that I believe we address the 5 fundamental big questions that people ask of themselves. And I've always said that my main job with our clients is to help them to find the answers to these 5 big questions. So the first question is, how can I live a better life now whilst providing for the future? Now, people generally develop a lifestyle that they get used to, and they want that lifestyle to continue on throughout their lives. And so everybody realises that there's a balance to be struck between making sure that you use your income to fund the lifestyle that you want for yourself and your family, but also recognising that part of that needs to be saved and put forward to make sure that that lifestyle can continue in the future. It's the bedrock of financial planning, is getting that balance between living now and preparing for the future. So the way that we can help clients to achieve that balance is by having a clear, holistic financial plan to create a platform where they can make informed judgments about how they allocate their income and their assets to providing for now, but also providing for the future. So the process of financial planning starts off with gaining a really good understanding of where clients are now and what their aspirations might be for the future, and some of the risks and concerns that are likely to occur, and allow them to start to really crystallise their thinking about things like order of priority and the interplay between the different aspirations they've got. And that forms the foundation for creating a cohesive financial plan, so that people then have a clearer understanding of how they allocate their income, partly for living today and partly for saving for the future and providing for their families and their children, their grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So the next big question is, how can I support those closest to me? Now, being a father myself, I understand the emotional desire to ensure that my daughter achieves her full potential. I want her to be happy and healthy and run a meaningful life. And part of me, my desire to wanting to support my daughter, is partly tangible and partly intangible. So, like many of our clients, I've worked hard through building a business or following a profession, and learnt a number of things along the way, accumulated some savings. So, like me, many of our clients want to support the next generation, so their children, their grandchildren, their close family. So we get into areas such as gifting, making sure that gifting is done in the right way, the right amount is gifted, the tax consequences are understood, all the emotional issues are dealt with, any family relationships that it might impact on are properly dealt with. So it's a very keen desire for most people is to want to support and encourage and help to nurture the next generation. And there's a huge amount of satisfaction in being able to do that. And I've experienced that myself with my own daughter, and I've also experienced it with clients where we've been able to orchestrate some quite significant gifts to the next generation, either directly or through a trust arrangement, to help their children and grandchildren develop more meaningful lives, a life that they perhaps had to struggle themselves to build. So the next big question is, how can I plan for the unexpected? Now, we all know that things can happen quite out of the blue. Sometimes they can be quite tragic, and having been in this profession for 30 years, I can give you countless examples of people that have had joyous experiences that have suddenly come out of the blue. They've suddenly inherited or won a huge amount of money, but also some quite difficult and traumatic situations where there's a sudden onset of poor health, or there's a bereavement, or there is a bankruptcy, or a loss of a job. So there are all sorts of things that can happen unexpectedly, and we all know that during life things are going to happen unexpectedly. So it's a bit like risk management for a business that we do for clients. So we'll create the concept of a risk register. So we look at what could go wrong, and we create financial scenarios to see whether you could weather the storm and what can be done now to make sure that there's a plan in place, so that if that did occur, then there is a plan. So it's about risk management, but in the context of the other things that you want to achieve as well. So clients, well, if you take the issue of what happens if my spouse died suddenly, then you could spend a huge amount of money providing for life insurance, for example, but jeopardise another aspiration that may be positive, like planning for early retirement. So it's in the context of getting a balance between making sure that you have got a plan for the unexpected, or you've done as much as you can, balance with what can you do to live a better life now, and also to make proper provision for the future. So planning for the unexpected, if you didn't plan for the unexpected, you'd say, well, you're just being imprudent. You always have to look at things from the perspective of what happens if they did go wrong. And we look at that on behalf of clients. We ask those knotty questions. We do the financial scenarios. And quite often that can just reassure people that actually they would be okay. There is a plan in place that would actually help them get through that period and continue to build their lives. So the next question is, how do I leave a legacy? And that can be a tangible and an intangible thing. Over the last 30 years, as you can imagine, we've got very close to clients, and we've had relationships with them, some of them for 30 years. So we've got a very deep understanding of what they mean by leaving a legacy. Now, in some cases, it's something quite narrow, in that they perhaps want to make sure that they pass on their wealth to the next generation, or it cascades down through the generations, and they mitigate the level of inheritance tax. So they're focused very much on mitigating inheritance tax. We've got other clients, for example, where they want to protect assets, and they might have a child, for example, that's in vulnerable circumstances, and there needs to be a structure established to make sure that their child would always be looked after from a financial point of view, even beyond their lives. Other examples might be that they want to make sure they pass on their knowledge and experience to help their child. So part of passing on a legacy might be helping them to achieve financial independence or early retirement, so they can perhaps spend more time helping their child start a business or develop their career, or to look after grandchildren. So leaving a legacy actually means different things to different people. So part of our job is to really understand what clients mean by leaving a legacy, and how that integrates with their other aspirations, and making sure that their overall financial planning allows them to leave the type of legacy that they have in mind for future generations. So the last big question is, how can I look after those that can't look after themselves? And what if it's me that needs to be looked after in later life, for example? If you've had the experience that I've had of dealing with elderly parents, for example, that have started to need support because health issues have started to crop up, then it brings it into sharp focus that it might be me one day that is in their situation and I need support of somebody else. So making sure that there's a plan in place should those circumstances occur where additional support is needed in later life is a critical part of any financial plan. Now, when we do a lifetime cash flow for clients, it is always potentially the most expensive part of their lives. I mean, we have a client at the moment where the nursing home fees run at £95,000 per annum. He's in his early 80s. He's got a condition which means he might live for another 10, 20 years maybe. And there is the potential that he will run out of money unless there's a plan in place to make sure that his resources are going to be adequate to make sure that he can always live the life that he wants to live for the rest of his life, despite him having to have quite intensive ongoing nursing care. So the way we approach this is to really bench test what would happen if one of our clients were in those circumstances. So how much capital and income would they need, given, say, the worst case scenario, that they needed expensive care and they lived for a very long time. And that's a really important number to come up with. Of course, there are some imponderables, there are some assumptions that need to be made. By co-producing that plan with a client using their assumptions, then it places them in a much stronger position to be able to make informed decisions about what they do now. And quite often it leads to, well, let's set aside an amount of capital that we know will cater for that set of circumstances, and that leaves an amount left over that we can perhaps use to provide a better life now, or we can help to support our family perhaps by making gifts. And we can give you lots of examples where we've been able to say to clients, actually you can give a bit more away to your children, because we can demonstrate through careful analysis and using reasonable and reasoned assumptions that you won't run out of money. So therefore it reassures them that they can actually give them more money than they first had in mind. But also the reverse is true. We've been able to say to clients, well, actually, if you gave slightly less, or perhaps delayed making a gift for another 2 or 3 years until we can see how things pan out in your circumstances, it will be a much safer and more integrated approach. So understanding the numbers around later life care is really vital in making some really informed and cogent decisions now about what you do with your income and your capital and your assets. I hope that's been useful. We're very easy to get in touch with. You can either pick up the phone, give us a call, you can email us, visit our website, or contact us via social media. We offer an exploratory meeting which doesn't create an obligation. We do it at our expense, and it's an opportunity for you to understand how we operate, for us to find out a little about your circumstances, and we try to provide you with as much value and guidance as we can in the time permitted. So I hope that's useful. Please get in touch, or if you know anybody that could benefit from talking to us, please pass on our details. I look forward to meeting you.